All right, Shalom. Good brothers, a great millstone to branch out the morning. First and foremost, we would like to give all praises, honor, glory to
Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Rakakurash.
double honors to our apostles and elders, a great millstone. Peace, blessings, and salutations to all you brothers who preaching the gospel, truth, and sincerity, always in charity. And as you see, the title of the lesson is entitled, the 70 weeks and the 3.5 days. Which that's written in the book of Revelation, respectively, also in other places, and also in Daniel 9 and 27. We'll be starting off explaining what the 70 weeks is, and the spirit is on us to go into it. There was a quote unquote debate, that was happening last night, man, and you had a certain individual make a statement and said that the 70 weeks coincide with the 350 years, which is the 3.5 days. Those are prophetic, and Lord's what we're going to get into it and show the difference, and yeah, today is Pentecost, so Tawadi Abasham Yahushua for allowing us to observe, a holy convocation as it's written in Leviticus 23rd chapter, man, and for bringing us back into our heritage, man. It's a beautiful thing, so without further ado, we can start in Daniel 9 and 27.
All right, this is the book of Daniel, chapter 9 and verse 27. It says, "And he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week. And in the midst
I'm
of
sorry,
20
24. That's where you started, 24.
this is
Yep.
Daniel 9 and 24. It says, 70 weeks are determined upon thy people and upon thy holy city to finish the transgression and to make an end of sins and to make reconciliation for iniquity
Mhm.
and to bring in everlasting righteousness and to seal up the vision and prophecy and to anoint the most
Cool. So
holy."
it was a lot in that one verse, man. So
Yeah.
let's read that again. Bible shot.
Con, Daniel 9 and 24, 70 weeks are determined upon thy people.
70 weeks is determined upon the people, man. Now, once again, these things are what it's Psalm 78 chapter. I will open my mouth in a parable. I will utter dark sayings of old. So these 70 weeks actually represent an amount of years. You can grab Genesis 29 and 27. Yes, sir.
Yeah, this is Genesis 29 and verse 27. It says, "Fulfill her week, and we will give thee this also for the service which thou hast served."
Right now, when you read the context of this is going into Laban and Jacob, right? They're coming into agreement that Jacob will work a certain amount of years for Rachel, right? And then he ended up giving her Leah, giving him Leah, and so forth and so on. Brothers should be familiar with the story, but you got it, brother.
It says, "Fulfill her week, and we will give thee this also for the service which thou shalt serve with me yet 7 other years."
Yet 7 other years. So it says fulfill her week. Fulfilling a week represents 7 years. You see? So 1 week represents 7 years. So when we go back to Daniel 9 and 24, and it speaks about 70 weeks, right? 1 week is 7 years. You see? So that would be 7 times 7, which makes 49. You see? But it says 70. So you add that extra zero, you get what? 490, because you add the extra zero onto what you got. You see? Go ahead though. You can jump back to Daniel.
Okay. This is back in Daniel chapter 9 and 24. 70 weeks are fulfilled upon thy people.
So now we know that 1 week is 7 years. So it's 70 weeks. So that's 70 times 7, which is 490. So now we understand that this prophecy is speaking of a time period of 490 years. Go ahead.
70 weeks are determined upon thy people and upon thy holy city.
Upon the people and upon the holy city. Go ahead.
It says to finish the transgression and to make an end of sins and to make reconciliation for iniquity and to bring in everlasting righteousness and to seal up the vision and prophecy and to anoint the most holy.
And to anoint the most holy, man, which all those things is going to be explained as we further read. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 25, know therefore and understand that from the going forth of the commandment to restore and to build Jerusalem unto the Messiah the Prince shall be 7 weeks and 62 weeks. The street shall be built again and the wall even in troublous times.
Right. So it says what? 32 weeks and 7 weeks.
It
So
said
so that would equal 40 weeks, right?
32 and 7.
32.
30,
Salaki, my
39.
math, 39 weeks.
It says, know therefore, I'm gonna read it from the top, verse 25.
So from the time, yeah, go ahead, you got it.
It says, know therefore and understand that from the going forth of the commandment to restore and to build Jerusalem unto the Messiah, the Prince, shall be 7 weeks,
Mhm.
and 62 weeks.
Mhm.
So 62, three score, because the score
Three
is
score. You're
yeah.
right. You're right. You're right.
It says in 3 score and 2 weeks.
So it's 62 weeks.
Mhm.
So 62 weeks times 7, which would make 69 weeks, right?
You said 62 times 7.
Yeah, 7, 8, 9.
Yeah, yeah, it's kind
62
of my
plus.
math.
I'm saying times.
Yeah, it's plus. Right,
It's
right.
plus. Salakia.
It
Not
said
trying to confuse anybody. It says 3 score in 2 weeks. 3 score is 20. So 20, 40, 60. So that's 62 weeks plus the 7 weeks that passed. So in this verse is 69 weeks being from the time of the commandment given, which the time of the commandment is talking about this. This is the book of Ezra 1 and 1. It says, now in the first year of Cyrus, king of Persia, that the word of Yahweh by the mouth of Jeremiah might be fulfilled, that Yahweh by Shem Yahushua stirred up the spirit of Cyrus, king of Persia, that he made a proclamation throughout all his kingdom and put it also in writing, saying, thus said Cyrus, king of Persia, Yahweh by Shem Yahushua, the power of heaven, hath given me all the kingdoms of the earth, and hath charged me to build him an house at Jerusalem, which is in Judah. You see? So it says from the time of the commandment. What? The commandment to rebuild. So this is the beginning of those 70 weeks here. You see? So it starts here at the rebuilding of the second temple, which we can read that. Um, Ezekiel was given a vision, the measurements, right? The blueprint of the second temple when we read the latter chapters of Ezekiel, right? But you got it back, bro.
this is back in Daniel chapter 9 and verse 25. It says, know therefore and understand that from the going forth of the commandment to restore and to build Jerusalem,
which we just read here, starts with Cyrus, right? Go ahead.
Unto the Messiah, the
Unto
Prince,
our Lord Yahweh Shai came on the scene. Go ahead.
Shall be 7 weeks, and 3 score and 2 weeks.
And 3 score and 2 weeks. Once again, 3 score and 2 equals 62. So it's 62 plus the 7, which equals 69 weeks total from the time that Cyrus gave the commandment to rebuild our temple, right? The Lord put the spirit on him to do so, all the way until our Lord Yahweh Shai came on the scene. Go ahead, brother.
It says, the street shall be built again, and the wall even in troublous times.
Right? It says the street shall be built again, and the wall even in troublous times. Now, this is the book of Nehemiah. It spoke about how the people had a mind to work. This is the book of Nehemiah. Matter of fact, I'll just search it up on right here. Salaki. This is the book of Nehemiah, chapter 4. And I'll start at 4. It says, hear, O all power, for we are despised, and turn their reproach upon their own head, and give them for a prey in the land of captivity. And cover not their iniquity, and let not their sin be blotted out from before thee, for they have provoked thee to anger before the builders. Now, when we read up, it goes into Tobiah, the Ammonite, and Sambalat, the Arabian, and how they were frustrating our building. That's why it says that the wall and the street shall be built in troublous times, because that was going against the heathen, right? That was speaking about the heathen and troubling our building. But this is
they had the sword on their side while they were building.
Damn, I thought this was the one. But it might be in a different one. But verse 6, it says, so built we the wall, right? Then the wall shall be built up. So built we the wall, and the wall was joined together unto the half thereof, for the people had a mind to work. But it came to pass that when Sambalat and Tobiah and the Arabians and the Ammonites and the Ashdodites heard that the walls of Jerusalem were made up and that the breaches began to be stopped, then they were very wroth and conspired all of them together to come and to fight against Jerusalem and to hinder it. Nevertheless, we made our prayer unto our power and set a watch against them day and night because of them. And Judah said, the strength of the bearers of burdens is decayed, and there is much rubbish, so that we are not able to build the wall. And our adversaries said, they shall not know, neither see, till we come in the midst among them and slay them and cause the work to cease. Right? And matter of fact, I keep reading. And it came to pass that when the Jews which dwelt by them came, they said unto us 10 times, from all places whence ye shall return unto us, they will be upon you. Therefore set I in the lower places behind the wall, and on the higher places I even set the people after their families with their swords, their spears, and their bows. And I looked and rose up and said unto the nobles and to the rulers and to the rest of the people, be not ye afraid of them. Remember the Lord, which is great and terrible, and fight for your brethren, your sons and your daughters, your wives and your houses. And it came to pass when our enemies heard that it was known unto us, and the Most High had brought their counsel to naught, that we returned all of us to the wall, every one unto his work. I keep reading. And it came to pass that from the time forth, that half of the servants wrought on the work, and the other half of them held both the spears, the shields, and the bows, and the habergeons, and the rulers were behind all the house of Judah. They which builded on the wall, and they that bear burdens with those that laid it, every one with one of his hands wrought in the work, and with the other hand held a weapon. Mm-hmm. So it's going into the wall and the streets being built in troublous times, man. You see? So this is what Daniel was prophesying about, but let's let you got it back, bro.
Kind of back in Daniel chapter 9 and verse I'm gonna read 25 one more time. It says, know therefore and understand that from the going forth of the commandment to restore and to build Jerusalem unto the Messiah the Prince shall be 7 weeks and 62 weeks.
Right. Once again, that equals up to 69 weeks. Go ahead.
The streets shall be built again, and the wall even in troublous times.
And we just read that account in the book of Nehemiah. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 26, and after 62 weeks shall Messiah be cut off, but not for himself, and the people of the prince that shall come shall destroy the city and the sanctuary.
Now, who did that, man? It says that the Messiah, right, shall be cut off. Who did he die for? Matthew 1 and 21, Acts 5 and 30. This is another precept to show who our Lord Yahweh Shai died for, man. He died for the sins of the nation of Israel. That's it. And then it said the people of the prince shall come. Who is that speaking about, man? That's speaking about the Romans. You see that? Because the Romans is the one, matter of fact, you keep reading.
It says, and the people of the prince that shall come shall destroy the city and the sanctuary.
Who destroyed the city and the sanctuary? That happened during 70 AD. You see? So that's speaking about the Romans coming to destroy Jerusalem. Go ahead, brother.
And the end thereof.
That's why Yahweh Shah said, when you see
Jerusalem
come past the armies,
flee you to the mountains.
You know, and then he also spoke about what? That's spoken in the book of Daniel. The abomination that maketh desolate.
Yeah, he also said that not one stone shall be left. Roughly paraphrasing it.
Yep.
Talking about when the Romans came in and destroyed the temple.
This is the book of Matthew 24:15. When ye shall see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet, which we're going to read down into that, stand ye in the holy place. Whoso readeth, let him understand.
Read verse 1 and 2.
I'm gonna jump up to verse 1 and 2. Matthew 24 and 1. It says, and Yahushua went out and departed from the temple, and his disciples came to him for to show him the buildings of the temple. And Yahushua said unto them, see ye not all these things, speaking about the buildings of the temple. Verily I say unto you, there shall not be left here one stone upon another that shall not be thrown down.
They're going into the destruction of the temple. That was going to come during what? 70 AD, like the brother explained.
I got another one for you. The book of Luke 19 and verse 41. And when he was come near, he beheld the city and wept over it, saying, If thou hadst known, even thou, at least in this thy day, the things which belong unto thy peace, but now they are hid from thy eyes. For the day shall come upon thee that thy enemies shall cast a trench about thee. That's the people of the prince that shall come. It says, thy enemies shall cast a trench about thee, and compass thee round, and keep thee in on every side, and shall lay thee even with the ground, and thy children within thee, and they shall not leave in thee one stone upon another, because thou knewest not the time of thy visitation, man. And he went into the temple, he began to cast out them that sold therein, and them that bought. So it's showing you Yahweh was prophesying of the destruction that was to come upon Jerusalem, man. You see?
Mhm.
So let's go back, brother.
Back in Daniel chapter 9 and verse 26, it says, "And after 62 weeks shall Messiah be cut off, but not for himself. And the people of the prince that shall come shall destroy the city and the sanctuary.
Hmm.
And the end thereof shall be with a flood, and unto the end of the war."
And the end thereof shall be with a flood. Well, what did it say in the book of Revelation 12?
And
This is the book of Revelation 12 and 15. And the serpent cast out of his mouth water as a flood. Who is that serpent? That's our enemies. That goes back into the people of the prince. It's talking about the Romans, man. And who was ruling during that time? Vespasian. Who was the general that came and sacked Jerusalem? It was Titus.
Titus.
You see that? So it says, and the serpent cast out his mouth water as a flood after the woman, that he might cause her to be carried away of the flood. I just read verse 16. And the earth helped the woman and helped us by us fleeing into the wilderness, fleeing into the mountains, like Yahweh Shah told us to, going back into what he said. And the earth helped the woman, and the earth opened her mouth and swallowed up the flood which the dragon cast out of his mouth. You got it back now.
It says, "And the end thereof shall be with a flood, and unto the end of the war desolations are determined."
Yep, desolations are determined, man. In Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter, from 15 on down, a lot of those different curses, man, was going into 70 AD. And you can also speak about the different atrocities that was taking place in the book of Josephus as well, man, about what happened and what transpired during those times, right? For when the war started, I think the war started in 66, and then it ended around 74, rough, but
Yep. It says, verse 27, "And he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week. And in the midst of the week, he shall cause the sacrifice and the oblation to cease. And for the overspreading of abominations, he shall make it desolate."
And it says in the midst of that week, man. So that
Mhm.
final week was going into the destruction of Jerusalem, man. The destruction of the temple. So in the midst of the week is when 70 AD took place. The destruction of the temple, right? The murdering of thousands of our people, man. You see? And then the war, the Roman Jewish war, which I believe that was the second one, if I'm not mistaken, you know, that ended in 73, 74 AD, man, which ended what? That full week. So that's the 490 weeks fully being transpired, man. 490 weeks. What the fuck is wrong with me?
For
That's the
90
that's the
years.
70 weeks, which equals 490 years fully being transpired, man. You know, fully taking place. You see? So once again, that 70 weeks represents 490 years, which started from the time that Cyrus gave the decree for us to build a temple, and it ended the Roman Jewish wars, man. After the temple in Jerusalem was sacked and destroyed. So that's that time period right there, man, that Daniel was prophesying about.
Yeah, just to read this real quick, just type the Jewish Roman Wars. The Jews Roman Wars were a series of large scale revolts by the Jews of the Eastern Mediterranean against the Roman Empire between 66 and 135 CE. The first Jewish Roman War was 66 to 73 CE.
So that was the first one, Slakia.
Mhm.
So I said I think that was the second. No, the first one was what Daniel was prophesying about, man. From 66 to 73. Ain't that 7 years? That's 1 week right there, man. And in the midst of that week, 70 AD, is when the temple was destroyed.
off the sacrifice, all that.
You see? Go ahead.
Yep. So going back to this in Daniel chapter 9 and verse 27, and he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week, and in the midst of the week he shall cause the sacrifice and the oblation to cease, and for the overspreading of abominations he shall make it desolate, even until the consummation, and that determined shall be poured upon the desolate.
Hmm. Yep. And once again, that's going into that destruction, man, that took place. You know, and all those that were worthy to partake within that destruction, that those that didn't take heed and listen to the words of our Lord Yahweh Shah that was warning that was going to take place. You see that? So that 490 years, which is what that 70 weeks is talking about, once again, starts at the time that Cyrus gave the commandment, and it ends with the end of the first Roman Jewish War in 73 AD. You see? Now we can jump over to the Revelation 11.
This is Revelation chapter 11.
You can start at 1.
Verse. All right, Revelation 11 and 1.
And hopefully we made that clear, But go ahead.
It says, and there was given me a reed like unto a rod, and the angel stood, saying, rise and measure the temple of the Most High, and the altar and them that worship therein.
Mm-hmm.
But the court which is without the temple, leave out and measure it not.
Now, when is this talking about? What time period is this? Because obviously this is well after 70 AD. When you go into the history, they say John was on his island around 90 AD, around that time, man. Circa, So this is well after the destruction of the physical temple. So what is he talking about? That temple represents the people today, man. That's why it says them that serve at the altar and worship therein. Well, go ahead.
It says, for it is given unto the Gentiles, and the holy city shall they tread underfoot 42 months.
Right. 42 months. Now, when you go into 42 months into years, it's 3.5. 3.5 years is 42 months. Now, those are prophetic years. Those 3.5 years represents 350 years that we was under the hands of this devil this time around. Right? Let's keep reading.
It says, and I will give power unto my 2 witnesses, and they shall prophesy 1,260 days, clothed in sackcloth.
That's also equals the 3.5 years as well. When you calculate those days, it says clothed in sackcloth. Now, in the book of Habakkuk, the 2nd chapter, it tells us that the vision speaks. So when it says that we were prophesying, this is the book of Habakkuk 2 and 3, for the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie. So when prophecies come to fruition, when prophecies come to pass, that's that prophecy speaking. So when it says that the two witnesses prophesied in sackcloth, it was saying that they were going through what was prophesied of them to go through. And what was that? That's our trip over here, right, to the Americas. In Deuteronomy 28 and 68, it says, I will put thee on ships again and put thee into Egypt. I just butchered the hell out of that. I will take thee into Egypt again with ships. You see, that was speaking. When that happened, that was speaking there. Then it says what? It says there shall be a great falling away. Well, it's not this where our heritage, our language, our customs was beaten out of us, man. Even thyself shall discontinue from thy heritage which I gave thee, right? So that's these things speaking. That's what this Revelation 11 is speaking about. Go ahead.
Verse 3, and I will give power unto my 2 witnesses, and they shall prophesy 1,260 days, clothed in sackcloth.
Mm-hmm.
These are the 2 olive trees.
And that's being in that lower state, Well, go ahead.
Excuse me. It says, these are the 2 olive trees and the 2 candlesticks standing before the Most High.
That lines up with Ezekiel 37, when Ezekiel seen the valley full of dry bones, Those dry bones was dry for a period of time. What period of time was that? The 42 months. The 3.5 days. You know, the thousand and something. The
Mhm.
number is said. But
The
go ahead.
1,203 score days.
Yep,
Yeah.
the 1,203 score days, man. It represents that time period where we was dry bones.
Yep.
You know,
Yeah. Specifically, even further, where Israel and Judah were oppressed together again. Again,
yeah,
it says these are the two olive trees and the two candlesticks standing before the power of the earth. And if any man will hurt them, fire proceedeth out of their mouth and devoureth their enemies. And if any man will hurt them, he must in this manner be killed.
hmm
These have power to shut heaven, that it rain not in the days of their prophecy, and have power over waters to turn them to blood, and to smite the earth with all plagues as often as they will.
yep. So it's talking about the prophets, man. Because you see, it said they got power to call fire from heaven. Did not Elijah do that? They got power to smite the earth with plagues, even as they will. Did not Moses do that? So this is going into what the Lord's prophets, man. You see? Go ahead.
It says, these have, verse 7, when they shall have finished their testimony, the beast that ascended out of the bottomless pit shall make war against them, and shall overcome them and kill them. And their dead bodies shall lie in the street of the great city.
That beast that come out of the bottomless pit. What is that? In the book of Revelation, what is that? Is that the 14th or the 17th chapter?
Oh, with the bottomless.
It speaks about it's the 17th chapter. This Revelation 17 and 8. It says, the beast that thou sawest was and is not, and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit and go into perdition, and they that dwell on the earth shall wonder, whose names were not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world, when they behold the beast that was and is not and yet is. Now, what is that talking about? The beast that was and that is not, but yet is. Because there was going to come a time when that beast that was ruling during the time of John, right, would be taken down and it wouldn't be there no more, but that deadly wound would be healed and it would be reestablished. That's what's being said right there. Verse 9. And here is the mind which hath wisdom. The seven heads are seven mountains on which the woman sitteth. The woman represents America. It says, verse 10, and there are seven kings, five are fallen. Now, the Roman Empire consisted of, let's say, kingdoms underneath it, man. Just like what makes America great is what? It's allies that helps it. So it's the same thing that Rome was propped up with its allies, man. So it says five are fallen. One represents Greece. Rome was one of Rome was the one that is. It was Greece, Germania Major, Germania Minor, uh, Italy, and France. Italy and France, which France was known as Gauls, and Italy was known as Hispaniola. Those were the five territories that Rome had took over, man. You see, Greece, Germania Minor, Germania Minor, Major and Minor, right? Italy, no, Italy is Rome. I'm tripping. Um, fuck, bro. I used to know this off the top of my head, man. When you don't go into this, you don't go into it a lot. Um, one is France for sure, and Germany. No, Germany and Major, Germany and Minor. But let me just read it again. Salaki to you, brothers. I'm trying to go off my memory. It says, and there are seven kings, five are fallen, and one is. That one is was speaking about Rome because that's the time period that it was in. So you got Greece, Germania Minor, Germania Minor, France. That's four. Man, why am I missing that fifth one? Why am I missing that fifth one? It says, and one is, and the other is not yet coming. That other that was to come is speaking about Britain. Great Britain was that one that was to come. Because Great Britain was that seventh head. Rome, which was the sixth head. Then you had Greece, because you see how I keep trying. I'm trying to
Catch that other one.
trying to catch my memory, man. You know, Greece, Germania Major, the Germania Minor, France, and
Not the
bro,
Spanish, because I'm
Spain.
thinking Spain.
It was Spain.
Was that
What
it?
did I say? Didn't I say that? I
Oh,
kept saying Italy. See, I got Spain and Italy confused. Because didn't I say Spain was called Hispaniola?
yeah, you did because
And
you did say
so
it was Spain. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
and France was known as the Gauls.
Uh-huh.
So Spain, France,
Jermaine Major.
Greece, Germania Major, and Germania Minor. Bro, this flesh ain't shit, bro. This flesh ain't shit. But those are the
Wisdom,
five
man.
that were fallen, man. You see, the one that was Rome, and the one that was to come was Great Britain. You see that? And hopefully, brothers is following along with us, man. Salaki for you know. But it says, and the other is not yet come, and when he cometh, he must continue a short space. Now, what's that short space? In Revelation 20, it says he shall be loosed
A little
for a little
season.
season. So it all lining up, going back to this Revelation 11 that we're speaking about, right? Now, this is verse 11. And the beast that was and is not, even he is the eighth, and is of the seven, and goeth into perdition. Now, who is that talking about? Who came out of the seven? What it says in the book of Jeremiah, it says, thy mother shall surely be
So,
ashamed of thee. I'm roughly paraphrasing.
mhm.
So America got its birth and its inception through Great Britain. So America is that eighth, man, that goeth into perdition because America's was going to be wholly destroyed.
I got that real quick.
You see? Yep.
Yeah, this is Jeremiah chapter 50 and verse 12. Your mother shall be sore confounded, she that bare you shall be ashamed. Behold, the hindermost of the nations shall be a wilderness, a dry land, and a desert.
Yep.
Now you even see that with politics, man. Now you got Britain pretty much having a separation with America, man. I think it was the guy. I don't know if he was the prime minister or if he was just like the speaker of the house or something like that. But he had even told Trump a couple years back. He was like, "Look, all right, be careful how you speak to your allies because what? Because you don't have many of them, man." And I believe that he was from Britain, you know. But nevertheless, they're showing you in different places, man, where Britain is separating from them, you know. But go back to that Revelation.
Yeah.
All right,
Yep.
this is back in Revelation chapter 11 and verse 7 again. It says, and when they shall have finished their testimony, the beast that ascendeth out of the bottomless pit shall make war against them.
So we know that beast that's out of the bottomless pit. What? But going back to that 17th chapter, is that the revised Roman Empire, and who is the head of this revived system? It's America, man. Babylon the Great, right? Go ahead.
It says, uh, it says, the beast that ascendeth out of the bottomless pit shall make war against them and shall overcome them and kill them. And their dead bodies shall lie in the street of the great city.
So how do we get over here to America, right? How did South America start to be speaking Spanish predominantly? Then you got areas that speak Portugal. You got areas that speak French, like Haiti, right? All that is going into that revised Roman Empire, taking down the what do they call us? The two candlesticks, the two witnesses, right? That's the northern and the southern kingdom. So here it is. We're on the other side of the world, and South America is predominantly speaking Spanish. How did that come to be? Gad and Reuben, right? The majority of them, they ain't speaking the language that they were speaking when Columbus and those different quote unquote settlers got here, man. They were put into what, the boarding schools. You know, they took their clothes off with their borders. They were put up suit ties, and they were made to act like what, Edomite men, and that's all throughout the history. But you got it.
It says, and when they shall have finished their testimony, the beast that ascendeth out of the bottomless pit shall make war against them and shall overcome them and kill them.
Because it said what? It said he shall overcome us and kill us, man. Basically, have rule over us. Well, it tells us here in the book of Daniel. This is the book of Daniel, chapter 7, and I'll start at 23. It says, thus he said, the fourth beast shall be the fourth kingdom upon earth. Now, what's that fourth beast? That fourth beast is going into Rome. Even Esau with his scholars will tell you that, right? It says, which shall be diverse from all kingdoms, and shall devour the whole earth, and shall tread it down and break it in pieces. And the 10 horns out of this kingdom are 10 kings that shall arise, and another shall rise after them, and he shall be diverse from the first, and shall subdue 3 kings. So a horn rose up out of this beast that Daniel seen, which represents the Roman Empire. This little horn rose up and took down 3 other horns. What are those 3 other horns? French, Spain, and Britain. How did America get its start? By defeating France, Spain, and Britain. You see? So this is speaking about America. So now we getting this picture painted into our minds that, hold on, that 3.5 days, that 350 years is talking about a completely, totally different time period from that 70 weeks from the 490, man. Because once again, that 70 weeks represents 490 years. This 3.5 days that we're going into represents 350 years. The 42 months that we read up above on Revelation 11 represents the 3.5 years. It's all saying the same thing. You see? So now we're seeing a clear difference between the 70 weeks, which represents 490 years, in that specific time period, and the time period of the 3.5 days. But you got it, brother.
It says,
or was I reading? I'm sorry, I was reading. I'm gonna read verse 24 again. Daniel 7 and 24. And the 10 horns out of this kingdom are 10 kings that shall arise, and another shall rise after them, and he shall be diverse from the first, and he shall subdue 3 kings, which is talking about America. And he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and think to change times and laws, and they shall be given into his hand unto a time and times and dividing of times. A time is one. Times with an S on it is what? Plural, which represents 2. 1 plus 2 equals 3.5 of a time. You see? So that's 3.5, which is prophetic. 350 years, this devil would have complete control and power over us until what? Until the breath of, I'm skipping the gun in Revelation 11. Until what? That breath of life came into us, man. Because this devil still have power over us now, but it's a difference because the breath of life has returned unto us now, man. So now we're not in darkness anymore. See, at first we were those dry bones, but now we're not dry anymore. Now we're well watered. It says, how is it written in Isaiah? One shall subscribe by the name of Jacob. When you read up, it says that the dry land shall become a pool. It says it shall be with reeds and rushes, and I'm roughly paraphrasing it, man. You know. So now we're being well watered. That's what Berea means. Now we're being well watered, man. And now it's time for the judgment to come upon these heathen for the things that they've done unto us. But I'll read the next verse, verse 26. But the judgment shall sit, and they shall take away his dominion to consume and to destroy it until the end. So this devil's dominion, man, his rulership is going to be taken away. And I'm gonna just read the next verse. Who's going to be given to? And the kingdom and dominion and the greatness of the kingdom under the whole heaven shall be given to the people of the saints of the Most High, whose kingdom is an everlasting kingdom, and all dominion shall serve and obey him, man. So the Israelites waking up, man, that breath of life coming back into Jake signifies the end of Esau's rulership. You see? And the end of that 350 years started when Malachi the 4th chapter. Well, I'm skipping the gun once again. Go and we keep saying skipping the gun. It's an inside joke. You know, we know it means is jump the gun. That's the correct saying. But I think I got another one real quick before you go back to that Revelation 11.
Okay, come.
Um, Revelation 12
Oh,
and
14.
14. It says, and to the woman, which the woman represents Israel, Jeremiah 6 and 2, and to the woman were given two wings of a great eagle that she might fly into the wilderness, into her place, right? So we fled, right, into Africa. And then from Africa, we were led into the place of our captivity. It says in the book of Micah.
I got you. This is Micah chapter 4 and verse 10. Be in pain and labor to bring forth, O daughter of Zion, like a woman in travail. For now shalt thou go forth out of the city,
We fled out of Jerusalem, right?
and thou shalt dwell in the field.
Right now, how shall
Matthew
I say?
13, yeah, 13:38. I got you.
It speaks about how the field is the world.
Mm-hmm.
So like how shall I say it, flee into the mountains. We scattered, into different areas, man. But predominantly Jake fled into Africa, right? So that field can also represent Africa. You see? But go ahead.
It says, and thou shalt dwell in the field, and thou shalt go even to Babylon.
Hmm.
There shalt thou be delivered. There the Lord shall redeem thee from the hand of thine
You
enemies.
see that, man? So we fled into the wilderness. Then what? We went into our place, which is what? Here in America. How was we brought to America? As slaves. You see that? It says back in Revelation 12 and 14, and to the woman were given two wings of a great eagle, that she might fly into the wilderness, into her place, where she is nourished, right? We was nourished. It says in the book of Deuteronomy, we shall, how's it worded? Seek our enemies for the want, for the lack of all things, man.
One of all things.
You see? So it was these devils, right? That's why we still here to this day. And the Lord put the spirit on these devils to do such. But it says, where she is nourished for a time and times and half a time from the face of the serpent, man. You see? So we would be sustained and nourished here in America, man. And there's another one, just real quick, final one. Revelation 13, which this 13 chapter is going into. Matter of fact, I'm gonna start at 5. Revelation 13, I'm gonna start at 4. Matter of fact, I'm gonna start at 3. And I saw one of his heads as it were wounded to death, the beast that was and is not and yet is, right? It says, and I saw one of his heads as it were wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed, and all the world wondered after the beast. And they worshiped the dragon, which gave power unto the beast, which is that Roman system. See, this beast, right, follows after that Roman. It's all the same. It says, and they worship the beast, saying, who is like unto the beast? Who is able to make war with him? Who is able to make war with America and its allies, man? The EU and NATO, right? And there was given unto him a mouth speaking great things. Then we read that in the book of Daniel. It says, and blasphemies and power was given unto him to continue 42 months, which lines up with that Revelation 11. 42 months represents what? That 3.5 years, which is prophetic, 350 years. Verse 6, and he opened his mouth in blasphemy against the Most High, to blaspheme his name and his tabernacle and them that dwell in heaven. It says, and it was given unto him to make war with the saints and to overcome them, and power was given over him over all kindreds and tongues and nations. Man, I thought this was another one that spoke about the time and times and dividing the times. I know it was another one. That's not the one I was looking for. That one was
that 42 months.
that one ties it. Yeah, it said that 42 months. That
Mm-hmm.
ties it perfectly in though, man. But you got it back down, bro.
Kind of back in Revelation chapter 11 and verse 8, it says, and their dead bodies shall lie in the street of the great city.
Now it tells us in Proverbs 21:16, he that wandereth out of the way of understanding shall remain in the congregation of the dead. So it's not talking about physically dead bodies, man. It's talking about us being in a dead state spiritually, calling ourselves African Americans, Mexicans, calling ourselves Puerto Ricans, worshiping Guadalupe and fucking Virgin Mary, calling upon Jesus Christ, Allah. That was us in that dead estate. Go ahead.
And their dead bodies shall lie in the street of the great city, which spiritually is called Sodom in Egypt, where also our Lord was crucified.
Uh-huh. Where everything our Lord represents, man, was X'd out, man. Starting with his image. Cristobal Colon, who you might know as Christopher Columbus, right? But that's his real name, Cristobal Colon. He came over here with that image, man. He made the Northern Kingdom bow, right, at the edge of a sword to that image, you know? And then from here, that image was pushed all over the earth. But also what his characteristics, what he stood for, you know, all that is X'd out here, man. Here it is. Look at what America's pushing. Gender fluid or whatever the fuck you call that shit. Here it is in the book of Genesis. It says that how the Lord made male and female, created he them. You see, it's only two genders that the Lord created, man. But America, they say, nah, it's more. You look up how many genders it is on fucking Google, they'll tell you a fucking dumbass number, man. Oh, it's some 932 different genders. How? But go ahead.
It says, and their dead bodies shall lie in the street of the great city, which spiritually is called Sodom and Egypt, where also our Lord was crucified. And that's a key thing to understand as well. All right, we know that this place is spiritually Egypt. All right, of course, it's a different symbolism. You can look on your dollar bill. All right, you got the Egyptian pyramid. Right, you got different cities, even popular cities in America that go back to Egyptian names, man.
The obelisk.
Yep. The different obelisks around, all right, in DC, and there's all different spiritual symbolisms to the idolatry that they were following in ancient Egypt. But even further, what in Egypt you had the northern and the southern kingdom together, all right, in captivity. All right, that word.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Now I was gonna say that word. Egypt is what Matzazarian, all right, which means straits, double straits.
Double straits.
Double straits, which is what captivity, a slavery. All right.
Which also represents, like you said, bondage, slavery. It says that the Lord delivered us from Egypt, from the house of bondage, man. So when you think of Egypt, you think of that captivity that the Israelites served under. Go in the book of Isaiah. What is that? 10. Isaiah 10. It says, "Be not afraid of the Assyrian, because he shall lift up the staff after the manner of Egypt, man." And that's exactly what this devil did. That's why our slavery here in America mirrors the slavery we went through in Egypt, man. You know?
Yeah.
But you got it, brother.
You want me to hit that Isaiah?
Yeah, you can hit it, brother.
This is Isaiah 10 and 24. Therefore, thus saith the Lord Yahweh, power of hosts, O my people that dwellest in Zion, be not afraid of the Assyrian.
Which is talking about Esau, Edom, so-called white man. Go ahead.
He shall smite thee with a rod and shall lift up his staff against thee after the manner of Egypt.
After the manner of Egypt, man. We wasn't getting paid for the service we was putting in Egypt. What did he say? Let's deal with them subtly, right? Put us into captivity, hardcore bondage, man. Well, it's the same thing that took place here in America, But you got it back.
Back in that
And we ain't got to explain why it's called Sodom. You go into that word Sodom, it means burning. Ultimately, that's what's going to happen to America. It's going to burn. But what is these people? What does America teach people, man? Do as thou wilt. Go after thy lust. So when you burn in your lust, because that's what Sodom goes back to, they were burning in their lust, man. So they were giving themselves over to whatever the fuck they wanted to do. And it's the same thing that's been ingrained to the people here in America, man. You love food. There ain't no discipline in food. Gorge yourself. Teach the women, you ain't got to be chaste. No practice. What do they call it? Promiscuity. Yeah,
promiscuous.
Go jump from ride to ride. Ride the carousel. You got their mothers that are telling them what to play the field. Mm-hmm. You see? So that's all that's being taught here, man. You feel something, go for it. That goes back into that Sodom. Because it speaks about how they burned in their lust in Romans, the 1st chapter. Speaks about how they burn and they lust one for another, men with men, working that which is unseemly. But you got it.
It says, where also our Lord was crucified, and they of the people and kindreds and tongues and nations shall see their dead bodies 3 days and a half.
Time, and dividing of times. You see? A time, times, and dividing of times. 3.5, which is prophetic, 350 years. And that started what? 1619, right? And the reason we say that's prophetically, that's where it starts, because that's when Esau, Edom start getting the southern kingdom from off the west coast of Africa and the other areas that they were scattered. Keep in mind, the slave ships came from Portugal, Spain. They was coming from Britain and England. They was coming from those places too, man. So they just didn't get us from the west coast of Africa. The majority came from the west coast and from Central Africa, man. But they came from Europe as well too. But it starts there. Why? Because the Northern Kingdom was already over here subjugated a whole 100 years before that. In 1492, Cristobal Colon, which you know as Christopher Columbus, brought his whole ass over here. And what did he do to the people over here, man? Then the conquistadors came over here, man, after him. What were they doing to our people that was already over here? So they were already subjugated. So when they came to the west coast of Africa and the other areas, that's when what? We were oppressed together. And that's the beginning. You got the Jeremiah? Go ahead.
This Jeremiah chapter 50 and verse 33. Thus saith the Lord Yahweh of hosts, the children of Israel and the children of Judah were oppressed together.
Boom. And then that's where that's why we get the we know how can I say it?
You know that prophecy is applying to
The water.
because this Jeremiah, all right, it says the children of Israel and the children of Judah were oppressed together.
That had to have a start point, a beginning point, you know.
Yeah, because already the northern kingdom was already carried away into Assyrian captivity when this was written. All right, so they weren't oppressed together under the Babylonians.
Yep.
So it wasn't applying to ancient Babylon. So when this is speaking about, all right, this is talking about what? In the virgin daughter of Babylon here in America, as we're reading in Revelation. It says, thus saith the Lord Yahweh of hosts, the children of Israel and the children of Judah were oppressed together, and all that took them captives held them fast. They refused to let them go.
Once again, which is why South America is speaking majority Spanish. You have certain sprinkles, Brazil, Portuguese, Haiti, French. But here it is. Those are all European languages. So how the fuck a whole people is speaking a whole language across the fucking sea? Because they were conquered. They were oppressed together. So 1619 is the beginning of us being oppressed together. So when would be the end of that 350 years? Well, you would count 619, add on the 350, you would get to what? 1969. What happened in the late 60s? Malachi 4, right? Is that the 6th chapter or the 5th chapter?
Malachi 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is Malachi chapter 4 and verse 5. Behold, I will send you Elijah the prophet before the coming of the great and dreadful day of the Lord.
Right. Now, what did Yahweh Shah say? His disciples came and asked him, he said, they said, Master, why saith the scribes that Elijah must first come? Yahweh Shah said, Elijah truly shall first come, meaning it was something that was going to happen in the future. But then he said, but he already came, and that they did to him whatever they listed. I'm roughly paraphrasing it, man. And it said, then the disciples understood that he was speaking to John the Baptist. But the first thing Yahweh Shah said was, he truly shall first come. Yeah. So it's letting you know that Elijah had to come twice. He came as John the Baptist, right? As it is written in Isaiah the 40th chapter, man, right? The voice of him crying in the wilderness. Malachi the 3rd chapter. It speaks about behold my messenger, he shall prepare the way for the messenger of the covenant. Well, who prepared the way for Yahweh Shah? John. What did Acts in the book of Acts, Peter told Cornelius, he said that the doctrine I teach, which started with John, and then it came into fruition through our Lord Yahweh Shah. I'm roughly paraphrasing how Peter worded it. It's in Acts the 10th chapter. You can start around the 32nd, 33rd verse and just read down, man. You know, but John had to come back this time before the great and dreadful day of the Lord. Who is that speaking of? Well, us here at Great Millstone, man, we let you know who that's speaking of, who we believe that is through the Spirit. That's talking about Elder Albert Bivens. You see, in the late 60s, he started preaching. He started speaking that doctrine, man. And what happened, according to Ezekiel, the 37th chapter, that spirit of life entered into certain men, right? And that legacy began, man. You see, King Masha, High Priest Ariah, High Priest Jaquab, right? On down, man, to the men that we see today. Beautiful legacy that we're a part of, man. Prophecy that we're a part of, you know.
I can read this real quick.
Yes, sir.
There's Matthew chapter 17 and verse 10. It says, and his disciples asked him, saying, why then say the scribes that Elias must first come? And Yahushua answered and said unto them, Elias truly shall first come.
That's future tense. Why didn't he say no? They got it wrong. He already came. No, he let them know, like, no, what they're saying is true. He has to come first, which he was talking about in the later time. But go ahead.
It says, and Yahushua answered and said unto them, Elias truly shall first come and restore all things. But I say unto you that Elias is come already, and they knew him not, but have done unto him whatsoever they listed. Likewise shall also the Son of Man suffer of them.
You read the next verse.
It says, then the disciples understood that he spake unto them of John the Baptist.
Exactly, man. So John the Baptist was Elijah the prophet. And Elijah the prophet had to come back in these last times today, because he would turn the heart. Matter of fact, go back to the Malachi.
Yeah, this back in Malachi chapter 4 and verse
3:5 again.
5. Behold, I will send you Elijah the prophet before the coming of the great and dreadful day of the Lord, and he shall turn the heart of the fathers to the children.
He shall restore all things, like Yahushua said he had to.
And the heart of the children to their fathers, lest I come and smite the earth with a curse.
You see that? So that's the beginning of the breath entering into us, man. So that's after the 3.5 days. Let's go back to the Revelation 11.
Yep. Back in Revelation chapter 11 and verse
10, right?
Verse 10. And they that dwell upon the earth shall rejoice over them and make merry, and shall send gifts. Salaki, let me read 9 again. I can't remember if I read that.
Yeah, you did.
Okay, it says,
just go ahead.
And they of the people and kindreds and tongues and nations shall see their dead bodies 3 days and a half, and shall not suffer their dead bodies to be put in graves.
We was in verse 11 after the because that's how we got on to John the Baptist. But you keep reading.
Right, and they that dwell upon the earth shall rejoice over them and make merry, and shall send gifts one to another, because these two prophets tormented them that dwell on the earth. And after 3 days and a half, the spirit of life from the Most High entered into them, and they stood upon their feet, and great fear fell upon them which saw them.
Exactly, man. So once again, that 3.5 days is talking about 350 years, right? And that's from the time period of when 1619, right, all the way to 1969. You know, he that hath ears, let him hear. You know, so that's something totally different from the 70 weeks. Once again, which those 70 weeks represents 490 years, and that 490 years took place from the time that Cyrus gave the go ahead to rebuild the temple through the Spirit of the Lord, all the way until the destruction of Jerusalem, right, and the end of the first Roman Jewish war, man. You know, so 2 different time periods. So you had a guy talking about how they coincide together, they mean the same thing. No, they don't. No, they don't, man. You know, so Lord will, we hope that was edifying and it was made plain upon tables. Hopefully it was made clear, you know, Salaki for the little mishaps and, you know, Jake not remembering certain things, man. You know, we need deliverance out of these bodies, man. We need deliverance out of these bodies. So once again, Lord will, we hope that was edifying. We hope it was made clear. Gawadi Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shai, for giving the spirit to do this lesson. We'll give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Rachakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Peace, blessings, and salutations to all you brothers preaching the gospel of truth and the sincerity, always in charity. Hey, so long.
So long.